Everyone here from higher ed? Yeah. My colleague Dave Manalski helped me set up this session, and he just told me that my wool blazer makes me look professorial, so it's appropriate for today. I don't know. Certainly don't have the smarts for it, but we'll see what we can do. So as with all of these presentations, you get to hear from me that you don't want to make any buying decisions based on things that aren't already released. So who here uses the AppExchange already? Yeah. And have you, who is currently evaluating apps, new apps on the AppExchange? Maybe 10 of you? Okay, that's good. So the AppExchange, you probably already know a little bit about it, so I'll blow through this pretty quickly, but the AppExchange is the #1 business app marketplace, and there are over 2,800 apps and 3 million installs of apps, which is kind of a testament to the fact that the AppExchange makes it so easy to try things out, which is really what was always my favorite. I have been at the Salesforce Foundation for 3 years, and before that I was a consultant to nonprofits for 8 years or so, implementing Salesforce, and so I got to install on their behalf or try out on their behalf a lot of apps from the AppExchange, and that really was one of my favorite features, was just the ease of trying a whole bunch of apps before you get them into try to get them into production. There are apps for every department. Certainly a lot of these departments apply to higher ed institutions. Apps for every industry. There's an education section where you can go and browse for education apps. With, the ones that are tagged for that. But of course, many of the apps that are not tagged for education are applicable to your business processes. There's also a nonprofit section that you should take a look at, because some of the same problems that nonprofits face are yours. And also some of the AppExchange partners are here in the foundation zone, of course, because they serve nonprofits in higher ed especially. So let's see. Yep, I just mentioned should when you're navigating the AppExchange, head over to the education section. It's on the left there in the navigation. Also, of course, use the search there to find apps that you've heard about, or you can search for capabilities or anything that might be in the description of the app. When you go to find a new app, some apps have all of through 2 or 3 different ways to try them out or learn about them. But look for the test drive for also demo videos that you'll find in the AppExchange listing. Some apps will actually have the application documentation for download right on the AppExchange page, and that can be a terrific way to find out if it's going to meet your needs. And then finally, the Get It Now button will generally install the app into your sandbox. In some cases, there's a phone call from a salesperson injected in there, but in most cases, you can just get apps right into your sandbox right away. On those pages, look for pricing for nonprofit. For many apps that aren't specifically for higher ed, but have a broad use, are encouraged to offer, similar to Salesforce itself, nonprofit pricing and education pricing as well. So you may be able to get a discount on the apps that you look for. I know some of our speakers today will be mentioning discounts that they are enjoying on the apps that they're going to show you. And there are also reviews, obviously, for all of the AppExchange apps, and people are sometimes brutally honest, so you should definitely check out the reviews on the AppExchange. And sometimes the vendors will respond to those reviews, and that's nice too. It starts a discussion about the strengths and weaknesses of the app. So thanks to our terrific panel that we have today from some of your colleagues in the industry. We have, I'll let each of them introduce themselves before they get started to tell you about the apps that they're enjoying. But together you'll see that we have about 20 years of Salesforce experience up here, and we are really lucky to have these folks here. So with that, I'll start right in with Jason from the Seattle School. He'll tell you.
Thanks. Yeah, I'm Jason Best, Director of Media and IT, odd title because we are a tiny school of like 300 students offering graduate degrees in theology and psychology on the shores of Elliott Bay on the waterfront of Seattle. So we all have a lot of roles to fulfill there. So yeah, I've been using Salesforce, brought Salesforce to our organization about 3 years ago, starting in fundraising, and then immediately saw the benefits of the platform and converted our entire recruitment cycle and our donor development and alumni relations over to Salesforce over the last few years. And so wanted to share some of the apps that I really enjoy and use every day and we gain a lot of benefit from. So all of these apps, I'm going to kind of talk about them from a student recruiting perspective, kind of from the capture, cultivation, application, and enrollment process and how we use these apps in that context. First, I'll talk about FormAssembly, and then I'll be back to talk about Conga Composer, then Cirrus Insight, and Certify. So first in FormAssembly. FormAssembly is a basically web to Salesforce form builder that you can create simple to very complex web forms that will capture the content and bring it directly into Salesforce. You can save those results to any combination of Salesforce objects, be they standard or custom objects. Some of the key features that I really enjoy about it is there's conditional questions. It's integrated very easy with your website, so you can have the branding and the look and feel. We use their REST API to bring it in directly to our website, so you can't even tell that it's hosted somewhere else. Looks like ours. There's great data validation directly within the form and the form building, as well as masking, so you can prompt people for how you want to have that input into the form. Has repeatable questions and repeatable sections as well. So we use this in our degree application to capture multiple, historical education records. So we'll ask, let us know where you've attended in the past, and you can have an entire section be repeatable. So some people will fill out, 10 undergrads that they've attended that we'll be expecting transcripts from. It's very helpful. We are using the enterprise version of this product, so they do have, I think, 4 different versions now. We've been using them for about 6 years. So the enterprise version is definitely the most expensive. They do offer a slight discount for nonprofits, but we have found it to be more than worth the price. I'm in it every single day building forms and integrating it with Salesforce. So we use it for our inquiry in the admission process. At least we use it for the inquiry and all of our application forms. So we knew that we needed to find something that would be simple for the prospects to fill out, simple for our applicants to fill out, and would integrate it with Salesforce. There was a lot of paper in our process previously, faxing back and forth, signing, printing out, all of those things that delay the process for applicants particularly, but also in the inquiry process. So we utilize FormAssembly to create our public facing inquiry forms. We also have kind of private inquiry forms that we build a mobile version for, so recruiters can take on a tablet or a smartphone that we can pre-populate with whatever location they're recruiting from before they head out there, so that we already know, okay, here's where we're entering in these quick leads. Our application form, we just recently did this. We revamped our entire recommendation process using FormAssembly and workflow emails. So during the application phase, we ask for 2 and an optional 3rd recommendation. Those people fill out, who's going to be filling out those recommendation forms for them. We then send a new link to that to each recommender that is pre-filled with their information that the applicant has provided, and then they fill out the recommendation form, which then inputs that into a custom object within Salesforce, so we can evaluate our applicants using just without having to look at those forms, those paper forms, printing them out and dealing with the back and forth faxing process. So I highly recommend them. They are in Muscogee North, If you walk in to the right, they're very, very friendly, kind folks. They're out of Indianapolis. So yeah, go take a look at them.
Hello, my name's Gershom Gannon-O'Gara. I'm the Senior Associate Director of Information Design and Technology at Columbia Business School's Executive Education Department. We're within the business school, but we do short non-degree programs and for people at executive levels in their organizations. The first app that I'm going to talk about today is TaskGray, which is a project management tool. So it's for visualizing and organizing and your workload and for project planning, complex multi-step projects. If you're not familiar with this, the reason we were looking for a tool like this was our marketing team. They were planning things in all sorts of different places, a lot of Word documents that were being passed around as like agendas for meetings. They were always out of date. And then the second part of the problem is in our initial implementation, there wasn't a lot of reason for our marketing team to be in Salesforce. It was our Salesforce implementation had enrollment data and was collecting inquiries, and there was one person on that team who did like segmentation, but other than that, they didn't need to be in the system every day. And so they weren't. They just would ask other people for information. So what we were looking for was a tool for them to organize and understand their projects, and then as a secondary benefit, getting them better access to the information. We can go ahead. So what we found in TaskGray is this really powerful program management tool or project management tool. The note that I have for myself is just out of the box, +++ awesome. It does all the things you want a project management tool to do. It has different views. You can set up different kinds of contexts for the kinds of things you're looking at. You can use tagging on different kinds of records. I think their newest release, they added some record type controls that we haven't played around with, but there's a lot in that. But the thing that was kind of jumped out to me even more than just it being a really good tool is that it's completely Salesforce native, which means that it's incredibly customizable. You can connect it to existing records in your system or to custom objects, custom workflows. You can customize it with triggers, with anything that as much time as you want to put into it, you can get that much more out of it and connect it to all of your other processes that you have in the system. So we can pull things through chatter into a task. We can theoretically run reports on it, or we do run reports on it, but we can run reports on tasks in there and put those into dashboards to go along, for instance, alongside our sort of the equivalent of our admissions teams pipelines for their upcoming programs, so they can see what the marketing activities are that are upcoming. So it's I could go on and on and on, but there's a limited amount of time today. So the bigger results for us, first of all, far and away, having users logging into Salesforce on a daily basis made their questions infinitely better, made the things that they were interested in the more complex and more just interesting for everybody, and they've been a real advocates for pushing other teams to do more interesting things within the system as well. Just from the project management standpoint, we have a better understanding of our project scope. We understand the intricacies of what happens to our schedule when we add another email in a week, and how that affects everybody on the team. We can see where all of the steps in that process, where that hits resources across the department. And we have shorter meetings, less email. We have a document of record for if the copy on a website's supposed to change, it gets logged in our as a task, and the record can be uploaded. And if it changes 6 more times before somebody actually gets around to it, the newest version can always be there, and we know where to look. And we spend less time in meetings revising documents and more time looking at what the next 7 or 8 things that we're supposed to be doing are. And then providing visibility across teams, having a publicly available view of what our project plans are means that everybody knows what is supposed to be happening and can put in input and request additions to those plans. I think that's it. Yeah.
I'm Sue Ours. I am the divisional programmer for enrollment management at Taylor University.
And I'm Nathan Baker. I'm the Director of Enrollment Analytics. And just a quick note about Taylor, small undergraduate liberal arts school in Indiana, about 2,000 undergraduate students, under 100 graduate students. So our primary focus is undergraduate.
Taylor is a Banner school. Admissions has been using Banner for 16 years. We kind of stumbled upon Salesforce, and over the past few years, we have moved our entire recruiting cycle, recruiting of inquiries out of Banner and have placed them all into Salesforce. And we're hoping by the start of the 2017 recruiting cycle to have our entire application process completely in Salesforce. So with doing this, that presented us with, I wouldn't call them problems, but some issues we had to work through. And some of the apps that we use really helped us. The first one that I'd like to talk about is Address Tools. This is an address verification app. There are 3 levels to it. The first level, which is free, allows you to do country complete. The next level is city, state, zip, country validation. And the third level is actual street address validation. So we were looking at how do we make sure that our address information is valid and entered properly. We wanted to make sure that when we're printing materials and mailing them out, we were allowed to keep those costs down. We also wanted to be able to automate our territories and to keep a historical record of those things. We do this through the ownership of the records, and I didn't want to lose previous term ownership. And then I also had to keep some end users happy who were new to Salesforce and kind of resistant to change. So I had to find a way to make their jobs easier, and Address Tools did that. Address Tools allows you to type in a zip code, and it auto-completes city, state, and country for you. If there is more than one city associated with that zip code, it brings up a pop-up that you can pick, a drop-down list that you can pick which one you want out of it. Allows you to make sure that that information is entered correctly every single time and consistently across it. Tables, this is the best part, tables are maintained by ProvenWorks. So a couple times a year I go in and refresh the data. So they bring in new zip codes, they decommission ones, they tell you which ones are unacceptable anymore. It's fantastic. I'm not responsible for that. I just have to refresh the data. This can be used on standard and custom objects, which is fantastic. We have high school and church tables as well, and we can validate those addresses too. And it's completely customizable. I was able to create fields on, we divide our territories up by state, and we used to divide Indiana up by county as well. So I was able to make fields on those tables that dictated what territories we were going to have for our counselors. And then through a formula field, I was able to pull that into the table to create a field that assigned it, and then through workflows, it assigned the ownership of the records. I didn't have any problem setting this up. The customer support is fantastic. They're located in England, but they're very quick to respond, and they do have a nonprofit discount, which is great.
So I know in the last app I shared, FormAssembly, we were talking about going with less paper, but there always is some paper processes to the recruiting cycle. We send out things like, we're from Seattle, so we send out coffee to people and all sorts of fun things like that. We should send Amazon gift cards or something. That's Seattle as well. But so we do some mail merging, and the app that we use for that is Conga Composer. So it is a integrated product with Salesforce, lives within the infrastructure there. It's not native. They have their own, I don't know how you describe it, but so you can merge, you can do mail merge on standard and custom objects. You can merge from reports or custom queries. You can record the activity from those merges. That's one of the key features that we really use. It leverages the power of Office as well, so you build all of your templates within Word or Excel or PowerPoint or whatever you happen to be merging, build the merge field, so you can use the logic within Office to do things like, we have a, well, I think on the next slide I might talk about it, but one of the other key features is there's the one-click merging, so it's really fast to get to the data that you want. You don't have to go through the multi-step. Once you build out the process, you can just give somebody a link and it'll do everything for you in one click. So we use it to standardize all of our mailings out to prospects, and it's built dependent upon their program of interest. So we build that logic actually into the Word document instead of having to do multiple runs of a mailing. For each program, we do one run, and it does the logic within Word and populates that depending upon what what program they're interested in. So it makes it very quick for new employees. We just onboarded 4 student recruiters, and they don't have to learn really anything other than that's where the link is. Click on that and it'll download everything for you. Once you're happy with your merge, you print it out, and all you have to do is say, I'm done, record this activity. It clears it out of the list, and the next time someone goes in, it's all the fresh contacts. So we found it to be a very helpful product. They also offer nonprofit discounts. They have I think their commercial product is a minimum of 5 users. They bring it down to 3 for nonprofits and offer, I forget what their discount rate is, but their support is phenomenal. If you go on the AppExchange and look at their reviews, you will see this as well. If you reach out to them, they will immediately be in touch with you and start a WebEx meeting and walk you through anything that you need. It's been even in the trial. So if you're wanting to look at this, I think it's a 30-day trial. They will sit with you. I think during our trial, I ended up on having like an hour-and-a-half meeting with someone, and I was reminding them, like, we haven't paid you any money. Is this okay? And they're like, no, this is great. Yeah, this is what we want to do. We want to make sure this is the right product for you and that it's going to work for your needs. So I highly recommend them. I forget where they are. I think they're in Moscone West, I think. So check them out.
So the next app that I'm going to talk about is Conga Courier, which is another app in their sort of suite. And it is a Salesforce report delivery tool. It's for emailing reports out to either your users or to your contact records. So one of the things that we come up with a lot is we'll have partnerships with other stakeholders of the school. So either a center or a particular faculty or another school within the university, or we also have stakeholders like faculty, for instance, who we need to expose certain amounts of information to, and sometimes sort of complicated information, but it's not really worth the administrative burden on us to develop new security profiles or build some integration with whatever system that they have. And so what we really were looking for is a way to provide this data to them in as non-manual a way as possible. Because before this, these stakeholders would get information from us in a very ad hoc way, just whenever they bothered the person on our side who was their point of contact, they would run a report and send it to them. And so what this does is it makes it so we can schedule those, we can set up sort of dumps of information in a pretty flexible. We can go to the next slide. In a pretty flexible timing, or we can set the timing pretty granularly over the course of a week, or I think they go down to the hourly if you want to really bombard somebody's inbox with reports. And it's pretty straightforward. Finding it wasn't too hard because we were already also using other parts of the Conga suite. So I would agree that their documentation and their support has been really fantastic in setting things up. And what it's really freed us up to do is engage in more of these partnerships with other parts of the school without adding administrative cost and time on our side. So we can have partnerships with other centers or whatever and bring different kinds of faculty into our portfolio in executive education, or just more diversity of topics, just topics on like storytelling and these other parts of the school that otherwise it would be, and we would probably do these partnerships anyways, but being able to do them without taking anybody any extra time has been really fantastic for us. I think that's it. Yeah.
I guess it's back to me. So Cirrus Insight is a Gmail integration product. So it brings Salesforce data directly into your inbox. Oh, that sounds interesting, familiar. That sounds like something maybe Salesforce has done recently as well. I'll make a point to say kind of what some of the differentiating facts of Cirrus Insight versus Salesforce IQ. I know their keynote is happening right now, actually. But some of the key features is you can view and update Salesforce information from directly within Gmail. We are Google Apps Campus, so you can log email, both current and historic email. to Salesforce from your inbox. You can schedule email for later delivery. We're not yet utilizing this, but I was meeting with a serious guy, and he was saying, you know, I find this to be really helpful when I'm up at 1 in the morning and I'm pounding through some emails, but I don't want everyone to know that I'm pounding through emails at 1 in the morning. And so I schedule them to be delivered at 9 a.m., and it looks like I was just really efficient in the morning. So I think that's something we'll probably be utilizing, because I know we exchange emails far too late often. So the problem that we were trying to solve is there was a lot of prospect information within people's inbox that was not within Salesforce, and we just needed to have that visibility across admission counselors and admission reps. So we wanted to get that out of the inbox and into Salesforce, so we brought Cirrus Insight on, and it really has streamlined the process for our for our reps to be able to see that data, to be able to log it into Salesforce. I know there's some new, of course, safe harbor for their sake. There's some new features that they're coming out with in the next month, like campaign mailing, so you can do up to 500 individual emails from a campaign merging from within your inbox rather than having to build through the mass emailer. They brought on a scheduler as well, so you can send out calendar availability to schedule meetings. There was one other thing I was going to say about them, but I can't remember what it was. They do offer a discount as well, and they've been very, very helpful. They're growing quite a bit. It will be interesting to see the impact of Salesforce IQ on their business, but we definitely are planning to stay with them and appreciate the app.
One of my primary responsibilities is to leverage our fiscal resources to the best capacity that we can. As a small undergraduate school, we only draw 30% of our population from in-state, which requires a lot of traveling and recruiting on the road. And this is very cost intensive for our office. So we needed to find a way that we could best leverage our recruiters. We have 3 full-time recruiters in the fall that are just on the road. And so we were looking for a way, how can they get from point A to point B and best utilize their time in between to meet as many contacts as possible. We found a solution with Map Anything and CloudBuilt. This allows us not only to do heat mapping, to see displays of how our students are situated from inquiry lead level all the way down to enrolled. So we can run custom queries off of the lead, contact, or opportunity records within Salesforce. It's completely native, and it looks just like you're running a Salesforce app. You're just doing it within Map Anything. So we're able to run those reports, but the real benefit for us with travel has been to come up with point A and point B and then find all the contacts in between. And we're even leveraging this on cross-country journeys where they should stop at Starbucks and then text everybody in that area to say, hey, I'm going to be at the Starbucks at this time. Do you want to come up and meet with me? So really, it's not rocket science, but this does a great job of helping us to find those leverage points with our contacts along the way. Also, it's a Google Map integration. So our users are very familiar with the interface. It's not like they're using some tool they're not familiar with. You can click on each of those pinpoints on a map, and it brings up the student contact information. So you can actually say what would be on that pinpoint. If you want the mother's maiden name on there, you could define that so that it shows up on that pinpoint. In addition to that, we're also leveraging this for our list purchasing strategy. So this is also a cost-intensive operation within our office of how to buy those purchase names from SAT, ACT, or NERCUA, whatever those search engines might be. And so this allows us to find those targeted areas that we might not think of off the top of our heads of where our inquiry pool currently exists, and then to measure through the funnel how they're responding to us. So we're actually parsing this up with census and geodemographic information and kind of overlaying the two to decide those particular pockets of regions that we're not familiar with, but they might fit our mold and our funnel to recruit them. So that's saving us money on the front end when we purchase those names to parse down that criteria by zip code, even down to the granular level of neighborhood. We do a lot of recruiting in Chicago, so we can specify Wheaton versus inner city, or what those interactions might be of those particular regions. So really, it's a great tool for us. They do have free licenses for nonprofits, up to 8 users. So that's been great for us because it's free.
All right. The last app I'm going to talk about is also free. Is dataloader.io, which is just a web-based data loader tool. And one of the issues that one of the types of programs that we run is our custom programs, where we'll partner with a company and they will choose a selection of their executives to come to one of our programs. And we often will get the participant list or their enrollment list just in some sort of document that they'll email to us, sometimes days before the start of the program. And so they won't have gone through our normal admission process. They won't have filled out an application. And so all of the things that happen to create the proper records won't exist. And so in order to, one, that's data that we want in our system, just in general, just so we have a record of who's been in our classrooms, but also there are things that the program delivery team can take advantage of, like some of the Conga things that we do to create name tints and badges, or send information over to ITG to make sure that they can log into Wi-Fi when these participants get on campus, all of those kinds of things. And so it's important to get them in, and usually important to get them in pretty quickly. And they can come in all kinds of formats, so we needed a data loader tool that was very easy to come up with a new mapping criteria every time. We've gotten everything from a Word document to a screenshot of an Excel list. This didn't help with the screenshot of the Excel list. We had to do that one manually. But in every other case, this is very helpful. And it's just this will be pretty brief, because it's just a very simple, lightweight data loader tool. And as such, it's become my go-to for this kind of small upload, sort of small batch uploads. I think they do have paid tiers. It's made by MuleSoft, and so they also handle really big data migration stuff, and at some of their paid tiers. But this has been fantastic for sort of day-to-day data loading tasks.
All right, so the last app I'm going to talk about is Certify, and we actually do use this as the last step kind of in our enrollment process, so in our student recruiting. It is a document e-signature product, competes with, well, on the level of things like DocuSign or whatever the Adobe one is. What was that? EchoSign. All right, thanks. So you generate the documents from within Salesforce, send them out. It tracks the signature process, whether it's been opened, who's signed. It has multiple signer capability. You can merge in fields from within Salesforce to the documents to be signed. It sends out email notifications when you can select whether or not you want all the email notifications. There are a lot at times to get you updated on the signature process. You can collect payments as well along with the signature process to finalize it. So we use this during our enrollment because we were noticing that it was just taking so long to get back things like faxed enrollment documents. So we did have people printing off, signing away, doing their initials in certain sections to agree to certain policies. And it was just taking a very long time to get that back. And then we were having them either mail in a check or call in with their credit card information. And it was quite a burden on our staff to get through that cycle. So we really streamlined the whole thing using Certify and actually integrating that with FormAssembly to create an entirely paperless product that can be done, by the applicant within a few minutes of receiving their acceptance, and they can return that easily. So it's really sped up the whole enrollment process and allowed our reps to spend more time just interacting personally with the applicants rather than having to shuffle paper around. They also offer a nonprofit discount. It's not a huge discount, but they are in West on the left side when you walk in. So nice folks out of Chicago.
The last app that I'm going to talk about is DupeBlocker. DupeBlocker is a very powerful real-time deduplication app that you can load into Salesforce. Now, when we came up with Salesforce, back in 2011, there was no native deduplication or even duplicate detection inside of Salesforce. We needed to find a way to not only detect duplicates, but also to auto-merge. We do a lot of mass loading of lists, and I didn't want to have to go through large lists of possible duplicates. I needed to be able to have those merge if it was clearly a duplicate with something that we already had inside of Salesforce. I had different situations I needed to account for, different types of users, and the situations where they're loading or entering information into Salesforce, and different types of lists and records inside of Salesforce that I needed to compare to. So I needed to be able to find a way to set up scenarios that looked at incoming records and records that were also inside of Salesforce. And I also needed to be able to find a way to control field overwriting. We treat our inquiry pool very differently from our applicants. I don't mind if information is overwritten on an inquiry record, but if I've got an application on hand, I don't want some form the kid has filled out to overwrite their application information. So we needed to be able to treat those types of students differently. And that's where DupeBlocker came in. DupeBlocker allows you to set up multiple scenarios and control the order that they run. You can pick what happens to the record when it finds a duplicate. So you can either just say, hey, I found a duplicate. You can have it not allow the duplicate to go in, or you can set it up to auto-merge for you. You can control the records that are coming in and what records it's going to be matched up against. So if I want to set up a scenario that only runs for kids who haven't applied yet and do certain things to it, so it goes ahead and auto merges, I can do that. I can also control which users actually run what scenarios. So for the people who are downstairs, who are our data loading people, they can go ahead and have auto merge scenarios run. But if they're upstairs talking to a student on the phone and to entering their information into Salesforce, I don't want that record to auto merge and disappear on them when they go to the next step to actually schedule a visit or something like that. So I allow those to go in, and we are given a notification that there's a possible duplicate that we need to go out and look at and merge. And it allows you to decide if you want to ignore a field, have it overwrite, or fill in if it's blank. So it's a very powerful tool, and it allows you when if it's set up to notify you that there's a duplicate, you go into a screen and you can have 2 duplicate records, 3 duplicate records. You can see them all on the screen at one time. Decide which one is going to be the master record, the one that you're going to keep, and then field by field, decide which information you want to actually go into the record that you're keeping. So it is a fantastic tool. We have person accounts in our version of Salesforce. It does require you to go through a few extra steps in order to make that work, but they are not difficult. They have a fantastic online documentation system. It is one of the best ones I've ever seen. And they it is free to nonprofits, which is awesome. Unfortunately, with the free part of it, you do not get customer support. But I'm telling you, their documentation is fantastic. I did not have any problem setting it up. I didn't need to actually talk to somebody about it. And just a shout out to one of the other apps that we use in conjunction with this. The Configuro data loader for Salesforce is a native data loader that you load inside of Salesforce. And it allows you to take CSV files and map them to any table in Salesforce, allows you to save that mapping. And then here's the big part. It allows you to control the batch size. DupeBlocker is meant to be done within the UI, so 1 record at a time. If you're mass loading records in large batch sizes, DupeBlocker will not fire off. But the Configuro data loader allows you to load them 1 record, set your batch record to 1, so DupeBlocker will fire. And because it is inside of Salesforce, it does not count against your API limits for the day. And it runs very quickly. We've done 30,000 records, and it's taken maybe 10, 15 minutes for those to go in. So we use this in conjunction with DupeBlocker.